ethics will be really an important fundament for the 21st century, has an extremely important role to play. You shouldn't think about it mainly as a constraint to our action, but as something that's going to enable us really to produce a stable and also creative, innovative society. Our world is becoming ever more complex, and we see that by a number of challenges that we are struggling with at the moment, such as climate change, or, for example, the financial crisis, or also wars in different areas of the world, or the spreading of diseases such as Ebola. So we are aware these problems are so complex that we don't have ready-made solutions right now. But each of them is also basically raising new ethical questions, and we need to be aware that many of these problems result from the connectivity and interdependence that we have created in a globalized world. If you look at this World Economic Forum risk map, then you see that by now not technology is the biggest risk, but it's economic, social, and political risks. And that is a result of these interdependencies. So we see that suddenly there are entirely new ethical questions, such as Uber taxis are basically creating protests all over Europe, like Great Britain, Germany, and France. What's going on there? Now suddenly we have Bitcoin challenging central banks, challenging our financial system, and we have worldwide surveillance. We have discussions about companies such as Google, not just in Europe, but also in the United States, in San Francisco itself. So we need to be aware of these issues, and we need to educate people who are sensitive about these issues. Engineers need to be able to think about social and ethical problems, to be able to address them. And one of the big challenges is the digital revolution that we're now facing, and it relates to so-called Moore's Law, where you can see that within about 10 or 15 years' time, many experts now expect that computers will reach human brain capacity. And that has serious implications. Not only are we producing a tsunami of data, in fact, each year we are producing as much data as in the entire history of humankind. It's hard to imagine. And of course, it's washing away companies. It's also creating new jobs, but it's really challenging our economy and society. And we should expect, actually, that after this transition from an agricultural society to an industrial society, to a service society, we will soon face, or we're in the middle of a transition to what people call the information or digital society. And these are curves about employment in different sectors. We should expect that in the previous three sectors, agriculture, industry, and service, we'll have less than 50% of the jobs that we used to have. So we'll need to create really many new jobs. We can see that also in the youth unemployment in particular, which is really skyrocketing, and we don't have a solution here. I'll give some ideas how to address it though. And all of that implies social and ethical challenges. Mass surveillance is just one of them. Now, if we collect big data, it enables us to do many fantastic new things to improve systems of all kinds. But we also need to see the side effects. And one of them could be self-censorship. It could also hamper our innovation capacity, our capacity as a society to adapt to challenges. And one other thing that we need to be aware of, that the use of big data can imply discrimination if we don't use it in the right way. There are many more side effects that we need to talk about. And so in order to have the benefits of this digital age and reduce the risks, we need to talk really about issues such as transparency, open data, and participation. And so it's very important to create options and opportunities for everyone, because otherwise we won't have jobs for everyone, and we'll have big problems. And in fact, there are new technologies that are enabling this, such as 3D printers. Suddenly, we can produce things at home. Actually, we bought recently such a 3D printer. I can tell you it has really created a creative atmosphere at my institute. So it's fascinating what suddenly my PhD students are coming up with. But altogether, it will enable, together with other technologies, including social media of the future, it will enable people to co-create and co-produce. So we're talking about this new paradigm of prosumers. We'll have much more personalized products, individualized products, and the goal must be to create something like an information and innovation ecosystem where basically everyone makes a contribution. So assume we're creating such an open data regime where basically the data that are provided by somebody else can be used by myself, can use it for a consultancy or for new products or services that I can offer. I can open my own business in a sense. I'll produce new kinds of data and intellectual property, which I could give back to everyone, say with a 2 years delay. So I still have an advantage, a competitive advantage, but I can turn it eventually into a public good, and this turning into a public good enables others to come up with new ideas and businesses and so on. I think that's a way how Europe could catch up in the digital arena with the United States and Asia. At the moment, we are many years back, and the only way of changing that is not trying to do the same thing with a few years of delay, because this exponential increase in the growth basically means that the distance would become bigger and bigger over time. We need to have an own and a European strategy, and I think this openness, transparency, and participation can be the thing. It also fits our European values. This is important to point out. And the Internet of Things is creating now entirely new opportunities. This is our second chance, you know. And what can we do with it? Well, we can build systems to create situational awareness. So, for example, we can create new compasses for decision makers that are not just measuring productivity, but also social capital, which is really important for our society, such as reputation, trust, solidarity, compliance, also happiness. We can map change and who causes it. We can map resources and who uses them to avoid shortages. We can map risk and crisis. We can also map tensions, international tensions, and how they spread. Very important these days, given these many conflicts. We can map health, risk, and spreading of diseases. This is actually for Ebola. And how to build this Internet of Things. I mean, there will be 150 billion sensors distributed all over the world in about 10 years' time. Will that be a surveillance nightmare, or will it be something that's good for everyone? So how to turn it into something good? I think it's important to build it as a citizen web, which is created and used and controlled by the citizens. So then it will be a system that we can trust. Then it will be a system that we can control. It means we can decide over our own personal data and who will be able to use them for what. This is very important. And in the end, it will enable us to put the best ideas together, because what we need to do is create something like collective intelligence. The problems in the world have become so big that they cannot be understood anymore by a single brain or a single supercomputer. So we need to stick our heads together and combine our knowledge, our intelligence, and we need to learn how to do that. But these information systems of the future will allow us to do that, and also to create self-organizing, self-regulating systems. Thank you very much for your interest.